Good evening, I'm Eric Anderson. Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, Charger fans return to Qualcomm Stadium, but not for a game. The campaign to keep the team in San Diego and the debate over a new stadium is heating up.
More than 900 refugees resettled in San Diego last year through the local chapter of the International Refugee Committee. I'm Peggy Pico with IRC's Bob Montgomery on his retirement and the impact of the organization in San Diego in the last 4 decades. Plus, CrossFit Kids, why a school in Linda Vista made it part of their curriculum, and why critics say it may be too strenuous.
Another wet mess out there today after Mother Nature leaves behind flooded roads and a dusting of snow. Plus, the quick thinking by firefighters that helped save homes from water damage. KPBS Evening Edition starts now. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Dwayne Brown is off tonight. The San Diego Chargers' quest for a new stadium has stretched over 13 years. It's involved 4 mayors and 2 task forces. KPBS Metro reporter Taryn Mento says San Diegans may have to decide if they want to go long on a new facility or take a knee and let the team go.
Los Chargers y los Raiders, dos.
Dressed in a half gold and blue, half black and silver jersey, an LA area city official celebrated at a rally late last month. The rejoicing was over a game-changing announcement from the San Diego Chargers. The Bolts unveiled plans to share a new stadium with the Oakland Raiders in Carson.
I'm rooting for Team Carson.
It's the latest move by the Chargers to find a replacement for the 47-year-old Qualcomm Stadium. And it certainly puts some pressure on the team's home city of San Diego. Chargers Stadium spokesman Mark Fabiani says that was the idea.
The important thing to know now is that the Chargers and the city are feeling the same sense of urgency to try to get something done.
Fabiani spent more than a decade trying to persuade the city to build the Bolts a new home.
We keep hearing we need a new stadium, we need a new stadium. Why?
Simple answer is because everyone else has gotten them and they have moved dramatically ahead of the Chargers in terms of their local revenues. New stadiums are capable of generating revenue that we can't generate at Qualcomm.
But he says it's more than just making some extra money.
New stadiums generate new revenue, and in the NFL, that revenue is shared with the players, and so the salary cap goes up.
And Rivers looking to throw. Hoisting it towards the end zone, putting it on the zip line for Floyd. Touchdown, San Diego!
Fabiani insists the team prefers to stay in San Diego, but a new stadium doesn't come cheap. Estimates show costs could top $1 billion.
It's a 22-yard touchdown.
In Los Angeles, the larger market makes it easier for the team to find a funding source, but that's not the case in San Diego. Here, the team is prepared to put up $400 million from loans and out of its own pocket. But the question is, and it has been for more than a decade, how do you make up that gap? And where would you put it? Mayor Kevin Faulconer has a 9-member task force to answer that.
And they will be charged with studying 2 different options: building a stadium at the current Mission Valley location, or building a stadium along with an expanded convention center in downtown San Diego. This very well-rounded group.
His stadium advisory group has been meeting behind closed doors since February to select a site and propose a funding plan by the fall.
And make these recommendations.
But the Chargers' Carson announcement moved that deadline up to May. And tonight, the group is giving the public a shot to weigh in. San Diegans will have 3 hours to say where they want a new stadium and how they want to pay for it.
So it'll be $167.39.
Or if they want to pay for one at all. That debate screams deja vu to land use attorney David Watson.
The question becomes, how do you finance a project without imposing a new tax or taking money out of the general fund?
Watson chaired San Diego's first stadium task force back in 2002, when the Chargers' threat to relocate then sent the city into a frenzy to keep them. But the city's pension crisis and subsequent financial stress put the issue on the back burner.
I'm sure that the current task force is looking at the fact that the city may not have a lot of cash laying around, but they have 166 acres.
That's the city-owned acreage in Mission Valley, where Qualcomm Stadium sits. Watson's task force suggested the Chargers take on the full cost of a new stadium, but get the right to develop the surrounding city land to make some of the investment back. San Diego County Supervisor Ron Roberts says a similar idea is floating around today.
One of the options could be for the city and the county to look and say, if this property is developed, we're going to get a lot of property tax out of it. And in order to get it started, you might have to front end some costs that could be, in effect, repaid through property tax or through the proceeds of the development itself.
But if you're like Watson, maybe you don't care if the Chargers stay or go, especially in light of a nearly $2 billion infrastructure funding gap.
Because I see going to a sports entertainment venue as an optional expense.
But he says San Diegans should be the ones to decide if that's an option the city offers. You can voice your opinion to the task force beginning at 6 at Qualcomm Stadium. Even if you don't, the mayor promised that you'll be asked at the ballot box. Taryn Mento, KPBS News.
Again, the Stadium Task Force is holding its public meeting tonight, and Charger fans are rallying outside of Qualcomm Stadium. This is a look at the Twitter feed from KPBS reporter Taryn Mento. She reports there are people tailgating with coolers and pizza. Fans young and old showed up with signs saying, "Save our Bolts." We'll have more updates on the air and online at kpbs.org. 2 decades ago, parents who chose not to immunize their kids for philosophical or religious reasons were a tiny fraction of the population. An analysis of state data by KPBS news partner iNewsSource has found that while that number is still small, it is much higher than it used to be. iNewsSource reporter Joe Girardi is here to tell us what happened.
In the mid-90s, the personal belief exemption rate was about 0.5%. Now it's 2.5%. But that's nowhere near the rate during the 2000 to 01 school year, when it was nearly 7%. What happened? Vaccine advocates point to 2 things. First, the 1998 publication of British researcher Andrew Wakefield's study linking the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine with autism. That study was controversial from the start and was completely retracted in 2010 after it was revealed that Wakefield made up his data. The second reason? The internet. Google vaccine and autism, and you get more than 10 million results, including many sites that continue to perpetuate the myth that vaccines cause autism. But while the personal belief exemption rate may be up, so too is the overall up-to-date vaccination rate. In the mid-80s, the vaccination rate was only 85%. Now it's about 92%. Public health experts say expanded efforts to provide vaccines to lower-income families is largely responsible for the improved rate. For KPBS News, I'm iNewsSource reporter Joe Girardi.
A blanket ban on where sex offenders can live was struck down by the state Supreme Court. Today's ruling focusing on Jessica's law. San Diego voters passed it back in 2006. The law made it illegal for registered sex offenders to live within 2,000 feet of a school or a park. Sex offenders in San Diego challenged the restrictions in court. In a unanimous decision, justices upheld a lower court ruling which said the ban may violate the constitutional rights of parolees. A deadly officer-involved shooting in Los Angeles is grabbing attention on Facebook because there's a cell phone video of the incident. Officers shot and killed a homeless man on Skid Row yesterday. Police say the homeless man was reaching for an officer's pistol. Today, the police chief says there is evidence that shows a struggle over the weapon. Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti said 2 officers wore body cameras that were activated during the incident. Sheriff's deputies in San Diego may soon be required to wear cameras on their uniforms. County supervisors taking up the issue at a meeting tomorrow. Costs could start at $1 million a year for the equipment, and that doesn't include the cost of storing recordings. The county sheriff says agencies already use cameras to report improvements in performance of officers, and they also see an improvement in the reactions from residents. A key vote by California Republicans may signal changes in that party's acceptance of gay voters. Delegates voted this past weekend to grant charter status to the California Log Cabin Republicans. The approval came despite language in the GOP's platform which renounces homosexuals and same-sex partner benefits. The California Republican Party is the first in the state to officially recognize statewide log cabin groups. Think it's too early to start talking about next year's election? Well, bad news for you. Some candidates are already beginning to line up for one in 2016, a congressional race. KPBS reporter Claire Tregeser joins us with more. Claire, what district is attracting the attention?
That would be San Diego's 52nd Congressional District, which runs north from Coronado to La Jolla and then east to include Carmel Valley, Scripps Ranch, Poway, and Rancho Bernardo. Democrat Scott Peters just won re-election there in November in a tight race against Republican former City Councilman Carl DeMaio. About $10 million was spent in the campaign.
And so who's out there now trying to run?
One possible candidate is Jackie Atkinson. She's a Republican and is an openly gay Marine veteran. I spoke with political consultant Tommy Knepper, who says Atkinson is considering a run. It's worth noting that Knepper was Carl DeMaio's campaign manager in 2014, and he says as far as he knows, DeMaio isn't running again.
And what does he say Atkinson's qualifications are?
She was a Marine platoon commander in Iraq and is a wounded warrior. She was honorably discharged and then took a job with the Department of Defense, where she works on reducing the impacts of improvised explosive devices. She's also on San Diego's LGBT Advisory Board and is co-chair of the San Diego County Sheriff's Advisory Board.
And what was Peter's response to the news?
His chief of staff says he's just focusing on doing his job in Congress and that it's too early for voters to care about another round of elections.
KPBS reporter Claire Tregeser. Thanks, Claire. California lawmakers are pushing for new drone restrictions. There's a new state bill to keep drones from flying over schools, except in public safety emergencies. Now, it includes kindergarten, elementary, middle, and high schools. Lawmakers hope the bill will prevent someone from using the drones to harass or stalk students. It's one of several proposed laws to regulate the use of unmanned aircraft in the state. The executive director of the International Rescue Committee in San Diego retired today after 38 years. He joins Peggy Pico with highlights of his service and the impact of the IRC here in San Diego.
IRC teams provide health care, infrastructure, economic and educational support to people from 40 countries whose lives have been shattered by disaster or conflict. Each year, the nonprofit resettles thousands of refugees in 22 U.S. cities, including San Diego. It's my pleasure to welcome Bob Montgomery, who's worked to help refugees find a new home in San Diego County for nearly 4 decades, and as of today, is retired. Hi, Bob.
Hi, Peggy. Thank you for having me.
Take us back to how you got your start at IRC.
Okay. In 1975, you may remember that Saigon fell to the communists. I was just graduating from San Diego State University with a bachelor's degree in social welfare. And because I was a Vietnam vet, I went up to Camp Pendleton, where about 30,000 Vietnamese refugees had been airlifted into the United States. Through the connections I made working with the IRC up there as a volunteer. After I graduated the following year from graduate school in Temple University in Philadelphia with a master's in social work, IRC contacted me and I came back to San Diego and have been working with refugees ever since.
Ever since. And San Diego's refugee community actually loves you. They call, I understand, they call you a beloved leader and refer to you as Mr. Bob. That's got to feel good.
That's nice. I mean, we have a familiar relationship there. I don't want people to call me by Mr. Montgomery because then I think they're talking about my father. So Mr. Bob fits.
Understood. What are a few of your favorite experiences during this time, 38 years?
Right. Just last week, I ran into a refugee from Somalia that I had resettled 25 years ago. And he now has started his own nonprofit, an international nonprofit. And he's working in Somalia, his native country, helping people that have been displaced by war, violent conflict, and most recently, drought and famine. So it's great, very professionally gratifying to see somebody that I was able to help now giving back to his native country.
And I'm sure that's just one of many, if you're getting so many people coming through every single year.
Yes, I've had many opportunities to help a lot of people from different countries. Just recently we assisted a female physician from Iraq get her relicensed here in the United States. She's now in a residency at a local community clinic. Again, I think she'll be given back to our community as well. And these are the kinds of experiences that I've had that are gratifying to me.
Give us an idea of how many refugees does the San Diego chapter actually resettle here, and from what kinds of countries are they coming from? What's sort of the range there?
Okay. Recently, like last year, we resettled a little over 900 refugees here in San Diego by the IRC. Coming from countries, number one would be Iraq, also Somalia, and also refugees from Burma. But in the past, we've resettled refugees from Southeast Asia, certainly Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia, from Africa, Eritrea and Ethiopia, and from the Middle East, Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran. So many countries over the years, depending on what the political situation was in their country.
Sure, a wide range. What kind of changes have you seen, if any, in San Diego when it comes to the acceptance of refugees here?
Well, I think the San Diego community has always been very accepting of refugees. But we've certainly, as an organization, tried to facilitate that integration process into the communities by creating programs that not only refugees can take advantage of, but the community members as well. That's certainly true in our urban agriculture programs, but also we have a free tax program, and those kinds of programs that let the residents know who are welcoming refugees into their neighborhoods that IRC is also investing in their communities as well.
So today you're officially retired. It's your retirement day today. Right. But I understand that you're going to stay on as a consultant. How would you like to see San Diego's IRC chapter move forward?
Well, I would like to see us continue on our path to better integrate refugees into the San Diego community, assist them to become productive, and also become U.S. citizens, and more than just that, be civically engaged in their neighborhoods and their community. And I'm sure that that's going to happen, and I will be around to provide some of my experiences to help as they move forward.
Well, Bob Montgomery, congratulations, and thank you so much for your service here.
Thank you, Peggy.
The latest storm to move through Southern California left behind flooded roads and a dusting of snow up in the mountains. Another wet mess in Vista as well. A water main break sent water down the street and onto properties. Now, firefighters built a makeshift dam using pieces of wood and whatever they could find. They were able to divert the water onto the street. Another look at the weather today from Carlsbad. Jim Grant sharing this amazing photo of storm clouds forming about 7 o'clock this morning. And if you look into the distance, you'll see it. There's also a rainbow there underneath that cloud. There may be some lingering showers this week as the stormy weather kind of hangs around a bit. The coast is looking at temperatures in the 50s and 60s. If you're going to go inland a bit, there are going to be temperatures in the 40s and 50s in the inland valleys. Make that in the 60s, rather. If you go up in the mountains, chilly weather. Temperatures up there climbing only into the 40s on a couple of days, peaking at 52 on Thursday. And out in the desert, temperatures around the 60s. Overnight low is going to be chilly in the 40s, however. San Diego Zoo researchers are getting a financial boost for their efforts to save the northern white rhino. Nola is one of the world's 5 remaining northern white rhinos, and she lives at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park. The $110,000 grant from the Los Angeles-based Seaver Institute will be used to sequence the genome of critically endangered northern white rhinos. Now, the zoo currently has frozen tissue from 12 northern whites. Geneticists hope the tissue will eventually be a cornerstone to help expand the rhino's limited gene pool. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention report more than a third of U.S. children and teens are overweight or obese. Peggy Pico explains how a San Diego charter school is trying to reverse the trend with CrossFit for kids.
Empower Charter, an elementary school in Linda Vista, is the first school to make CrossFit for kids a part of their school curriculum. Joining me with how it works and the results are my guest, Executive Director of Empower, Demi Brown, and Laura Poggi, Coordinator for School Programs at CrossFit Kids Incorporated. Welcome.
Thank you.
Now, Laura, what is CrossFit for kids in a nutshell, and how is it different from the strenuous CrossFit for adults that we've heard a lot about?
Well, CrossFit Kids is a functional fitness program that's paired with fun, and so it empowers kids to work out, have fun, be safe, and enjoy and develop a lifelong love for fitness.
So it's different than the adult?
It's very different from the adult in that it's designed specifically for kids. The adult is a different beast altogether.
Completely different. Well, tell us specifically maybe some of the exercises and games at a CrossFit program, let's say at Empower.
Well, the structure for kids would be they would start off with a warm-up, something that they would have fun and get moving. Then we would go to a skill, like an air squat. We would talk about the points of performance for an air squat, how to move safely, and then the kids would do a workout, a 6 to 7 minute workout, and then we would always end the class with a CrossFit Kids game that pairs fitness with fun so that kids leave their workout having had fun and want to come back for more.
That does sound like fun. Maybe some gym should, no. Okay, we'll continue. Demi, why did you choose CrossFit Kids over, let's say, other standard physical education programs?
Well, the main reason was that I saw it happen in my own school. When I was a middle school teacher, my coach came and volunteered with my students once a week and taught a CrossFit Kids program. So I got to see the changes that happened just with my own students, both their ability to concentrate in the classroom, the camaraderie that came out as they started cheering for each other like you see in a lot of CrossFit gyms. And we didn't tell them, hey, clap for each other while they get through a workout, but they just naturally took that on. So after seeing the benefits just with my own students as a teacher, when we started Empower, it had to be part of the program.
Now, the program started at Empower this past fall, here in 2014 fall. How do you track the results, and how are the kids doing?
Well, there's an assessment that CrossFit Kids has where there's a variety of movements the students can perform, and you can assess how they did at the beginning of the year and post at the end of the year. We're going to add to that, and we're going to start tracking their BMI. As far as now, this week and next week, we're going to start taking height and weight, and then we'll compare it to the end of the year.
Sure. So to sort of get a comparison there. Laura, what do you say to critics who say CrossFit is too strenuous for kids?
Well, the first thing I would do would be to invite them to go visit a school that has the program in their physical education, or invite them to a myriad of boxes in their community that has a CrossFit Kids program. Because once they see that program taking place, they will understand that the intensity that is sometimes tied with the term CrossFit doesn't necessarily apply when it comes to kids and their enjoyment of having fun and developing a lifelong love of fitness.
And CrossFit Kids, it's actually, the program is in other schools. We'll come back and talk more about why it's in the curriculum here. So are you seeing injuries pop up?
None. We have not had, no, because it's functional fitness. So it's designed purposely to be varied. And so the injuries that you often see with kids are overuse injuries. And we don't have that problem with CrossFit Kids because they're using all of their body at different times and not the same repetitive use of that leads to injuries. And so, if anything, it prepares kids to be stronger and move better for other activities that they do.
What about training requirements? What is required for teachers?
For teachers, we ask that they attend our Level 1 trainer course, and that goes over just the foundational movements of CrossFit. And then once they've completed that, we ask that they attend our CrossFit Kids trainer course that is designed to specifically talk about how we teach CrossFit Kids in our schools and boxes.
And Jimmy, earlier on we were talking about that this was about the curriculum. This isn't just you brought in this program. It's really something that's part of the curriculum. Why do that at an elementary school?
Well, when we look at childhood obesity and we look at this problem that we have in our society, 1/3 of students or children ages 6 to 19 or 18 are obese. How do you solve that problem? Well, it can't just be the school by itself. It can't just be a parent who wants their child to eat healthy. And it can't just be a community organization trying to promote it. It has to be all three together. And so at our school, health and fitness is woven into the fabric of what we are. students learn about health in their classrooms.
So, right, so it's a complete curriculum. Unfortunately, we are out of time. There's more about this on our website, kpbs.org. Demi Brown and Laura Poggi, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm Judy Woodruff on the next News Hour. A look ahead to the Supreme Court case that could decide the fate of Obamacare. That's Monday on the PBS News Hour.
Will you succeed? Yes, you will indeed. Children around the nation celebrating the birthday of Theodore Seuss Geisel, also known as Dr. Seuss. Mayor Kevin Faulkner met with students today from Burbank and Hardy Elementary Schools. He said he read the Dr. Seuss book, Oh, the Places You'll Go.
Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. Congratulations. Today is your day. You're off to great places. You're off and away. You have brains in your head. You have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself in direction that you choose.
It is the 25th anniversary of Oh, the Places You'll Go, favorite children's book. Now, the mayor also encouraged students to enlist in a national contest called Kid, You'll Move Mountains. It recognizes kids who excel in science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. Now, the winners could score a $10,000 scholarship plus a ride in the Goodyear blimp. Of course, you can find tonight's stories on our website. It's kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks very much for joining us. We'll be back here again tomorrow night. Have a great evening.